Well, I've just turned this guy's $300,000 into nearly $15 million because now it's not worth $10 a pound; it's worth $500 a pound. So we're out there doing this, and we're pulling traps, and I knew that you'd get up early, at crack of dawn. Well, I get up, and it's like the sun's up, and the bunks are right in the wheelhouse, and I lean out of the bunk, and I'm looking up at Billy. He's the captain. I said, and he looks at me. He's got this big shit-eating grin on his face, man. He goes, Timmy, we're not gonna pull traps today. He says we're gonna hang out out here and screw around all day and unload a pot boat from Colombia tonight. And I said, okay, cool. And that's how they got me, because it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek sort of an affair, but they knew me,
Right.
and we all smoked weed at that time. We're all kids and shit, so they knew I'd be okay with it. So we hung out there all that day. The first time I ever worked on that boat, my first day working on that boat to go stone crabbing, was unloading a pot boat from Colombia. 15 tons is what was on it that night. And yeah, well,
that's a lot of pot.
Yeah, that's a good load. When you first see it, for the first time, because up until this point you hear about little rumors and and the little ghost things that are going on, but now I'm one of the ghosts, and it's real.
What does a bale weigh? Like 50 pounds that you're pulling?
Typically, well, see, here's something that a lot of people, I mean, most people, almost everyone, is not aware of. The way a bale of pot looks today, they're kind of a bit of rectangular shaped. I'll show you a picture of one here. Packed rather well. They have, let's see, where'd it go? Here we go. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's what a typical bale looks like. And they average, when you're getting them that consistent, they're averaging, 70 pounds.
Okay. Now.
Ish. No.
But not then?
No, not then. What was happening then in those early days, when I first began in the late 60s or late 70s, they were loading what we called pillow bales. And it was quite literally, looked like someone was taking a plastic bag and stuffing it with their foot like this, as much as they could get into the damn thing, tape it shut with duct tape, stick that into a burlap sack, stitch that one shut. So now you're getting bales they're not consistent, they're not square, they're not round. They're anywhere from 30 to 110 pounds, because they're just putting in them whatever they can put them into. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Our job as going offshore and unloading these freighters, our job was to not just to pull our boat out there and wait for the shit to come raining down on our boat. We'd have to get up on these freighters, these ships sometimes, and help the crew bring it up on deck.
Right.
And then throw it overboard and start loading it. Give them a hand, then they would toss it down to us, because these boats stay running. And as a kid, Jesus, I've been on boats that have had as much as, I don't know, 300,000-400,000 pounds on them at a time, and we would go back a couple, 2-3 nights in a row and unload them.
Right.
And the stuff down below, it gets like a mulch pile gets. It starts to self-combust. It gets warm. It gets hot, and it's hot as shit down there, man. So you can only stay down there for so long. You're taking your turn back and forth. But as you're doing this, by the time we got these bales, from the mothership, they'd probably been handled maybe 2, maybe 3 times already. And they're starting to come apart.
Right.
So we're tossing stuff, and I got shake in my hair, and I'm looking over at my buddy. I'm laughing. I wrote about this in the book, and he's got seeds like a, McDonald's hamburger bun stuck all over his face, and I'm just cracking up because it's just, we're just covered with this shit. And long story short, as far as that goes, we would take this stuff back to shore. The other boats, typically how it works, we'd load our big boat, our crab boat, which is that right there.
Right.
I mean, just see the radar?
Yeah.
From just so the radar can turn all the way back, load it all the way back. I mean, this thing had 30,000 pounds of shit on this. And it looked like from above, all you could see was the radar turning. It looked like a big mound of pot moving through the water. You couldn't even see the boat. But, yeah, so.
We should get that picture.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, if we get that picture, you probably put it up. Like, you could probably put up the picture somewhere. Yeah. Just real quick.
Just send it to me.
It's actually, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can send it to you. But I have, let's see. There's
Yeah.
there it is. There's a bigger picture of it right there. But see, I mean, this thing is just loaded. See where the water line is?
Yeah.
We would load it till there was about 7 inches of water line. I mean, dangerously loaded. But what was going on was we would take this stuff into shore, give it off to the smaller boats that can go through the shallows.
Right.
And at that time, and it was always done this way, we would put the load in, take it to the island and put it in one of our friends' houses that we've literally taken all the furniture out of. And you start in the back of the house, you can do the bedrooms and the bathrooms and the dining room and the living room. I mean, floor to ceiling. And if the house is full and there's still some more coming, well, you just pull the door shut and go to Teddy's house next door, start loading that one.
Right.
But here we've got this stuff that's just coming apart. I mean, they're not all falling apart, but it's nasty. Now, once our big boat is unloaded and everybody's taking the stuff to the houses, our job, we go offshore and we clean up and, we scrub down and this and that. And then we bunk down for the night near one of our trap lines and we start pulling traps the next day, just like going back to work again.
Right. So if you're the DEA taking photos, you went out, you came back with traps.
And it's not uncommon for a boat to stay out and do a 2-day trip or, something like that, depending on how far they have to go. But more to the point is, the shit was so nasty. I mean, we would take hours of screwdrivers and knives and little corners and shit. And finally, we decided that, I literally we were sweeping the stuff into piles on the deck of the boat and taking an ice shovel and shoveling it off the boat. That's how thick this stuff was. I mean, I emptied more shit out of my fishing boots than most 2-3 guys could smoke in their lifetime. It was just nasty.
Right.
So the first 2 generations, we were third generation. We were the kids. The first 2 generations ultimately got their heads together and said, "Look, man, we were responsible for this shit once we take it off your boat. And if there's anything goes wrong out here between now and the time that we get it to you, we're screwed." Right. One seat on that boat, if anything becomes suspect, they find one seat on our boat, we're done. So a couple of the older generations took it upon themselves at that time here in the early 80s when the advent of the commercial and the household trash compactor started coming onto the scene. They said, "Hey, look here." So they take a couple dozen of those things down to South America and said, "Look, here's what we need you to do." Right. So now they've got a bank of generators going. And how they were doing it was, the stuff would come in by mule from wherever it's coming. And we were unloading mountain sides of this stuff, dude. I was taking, by the time I got to go flying to Colombia and buying myself, I'm buying 100, 200,000 pounds at a time. And I'm sending boats to go get the stuff, as many as I can, as quick as I can go get it done. But we were just unloading this stuff, as quick as we can, as quick as we could. But now they're all coming more uniformly. Right. And the boats that we're using, the crab boats, by their very nature, they're perfectly designed for hauling bales of pot because they're designed for hauling traps. Right. So now the loads not only got more organized, but they got bigger. Because now they're more compacted. Right. So now we're getting more weight. So
they're heavier too. I was going to say they're heavier too, right?
They're heavier now.
So now they're more squares, right? They're rectangles.
Easier somewhat to hold on to, and like that. But this is the evolution of the bale of pot. People see a bale of pot and what it looks like today. This is the result of that. Right. Of the whole compacting idea of it all. Because it was just insane. ludicrous the way it was happening, but it cleaned up. It got quicker. We didn't have to, we could get in, we could get out. The houses could get loaded. People could get, that shit could get to Miami a lot quicker. It just, sped the whole thing up.
Is that where everything's going to Miami, or is it going all over?
At that time, what we were doing, we were what the United States government described as service providers. We were the ones that actually doing the work. You would, for instance, you give me, when I started, doing my thing, weed in South America and Colombia was going for $10 a pound at that time. You give me 300,000. I mean, cocaine cowboys in Miami, they just got money to play with. They got nothing better to do. So, give me $300,000 of your bar money, and I'll buy you 30,000 pounds of weed.
Right.
Well, you take that 30,000 pounds of weed that I just paid $10 a pound for, and between 8 and 14, 15 days or so, depending on any weather events coming through the Caribbean or the lower Caribbean, I can get that load from South America to South Florida in that amount of days. Well, I've just turned this guy's $300,000 into nearly $15 million, because now it's not worth $10 a pound, it's worth $500 a pound, or close to it. So I'm taking this guy's 300 grand, and in the 8 days, I'm returning him $9,700,000, because out of that comes my fee. If it's 30,000, you owe me 5 million. I take 5 million, I owe you 10.
Okay.
You paid 300,000 for this. You just made $9,700,000 in 8 days. You think these fuckers are shooting at me? Hell no, man. They're giving me more money. Go back, get some more. I couldn't get it fast enough. That's just how it was. I mean, and if you take the math and you do it a little bit further, it becomes an astronomical figure. It becomes really ridiculous.
Right.
In the fact that if I'm doing this with $300,000, okay, and I'm making $9,700,000, take that. I don't want to mess this up. I want to do this right. If you take that, 9,700,000 and divide it by 300,000.
Right.
That means I have 32 chances to get the next load in. I can lose 31 loads.
Right. And still break even.
I'll get the last load in. They've still made money. That's how ridiculous this number is.
Okay.
So I've never lost a load.
Right. Are any of these loads getting caught? I mean, are any of these guys getting caught in the...
Some guys, and I wrote this in the book. We weren't the only people. We weren't the only guys out there doing this.
Right.
There were the pot haulers all over the place, and God bless them, man. It takes balls to do this kind of thing,
Right.
But what I am talking about, within the pages of the book is how a little town was able to integrate it into a way of life spanning 40 years and 3 generations, and ran the Caribbean with impunity. They had no idea that this kind of stuff was going on the sheer volume of which was going on. That's what really kind of blew their mind when they kind of opened up this bit of a Pandora's box, if you will. And these numbers right here are just a small testament to the fact that, the violence aspect of it. Let's bring this number into the violence aspect of it. People always, I always get, aren't you scared? Weren't you afraid to fly into Colombia? Or
Right.
I worked for Noriega 3 times. Never actually met the man. He sent me a handwritten note one time, but I never actually met the guy. But, you're working with Noriega. You're working with guys in Jamaica, in South America, Venezuela, in Panama. Aren't you afraid? No. For one thing, these people were handed down through family generationally. I'm generational. The kids I grew up with are generational. There's nobody shooting at anybody. Why in the hell would you shoot at somebody that's
making that kind of money?
Got 31 chances to get your shit in, and he's going to get it in.
Right.
You're guaranteed that. So, it doesn't make sense for, anything like that to take place. So everybody's, like if a load ever did get, for whatever reason lost or the count come up wrong or something like that, just go back and get another one.
Right.